Hi, everyone, and welcome to round number 9 of the brand new Race Anywhere Transatlantic Championship, powered by Sim3D, right here on Absolute Sim Racing. We're rounding the final corners of this inaugural season, and after a very exciting outing at Europe's oldest and one of its most storied circuits, Monza, we head back to the States in a course that has flummoxed drivers for over 50 years. For 75 minutes tonight, our GT3 drivers take to a track that has both flow and incites fears in the hearts of lesser drivers. Welcome, everyone, to the home of Petit Le Mans, 12-turn, 2.5-mile Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. I'm Greg Ginsburg with Austin Belke, joining me in the commentary box, and along with Daniel Handover in the virtual production truck. And if the previous 8 outings are anything to go by, we're going to be bringing you an action-packed race from the home of the red Georgia clay. So, Austin, in a lot of regards, Road Atlanta, it doesn't have the outright speed of Monza, where we were last week, but much like Monza, it's notoriously difficult to pass here. It's a place where you've got to wait for your competitor to make a mistake, and but the thing is that those mistakes are usually in abundance here at Road Atlanta. So our drivers, they may not have to wait too long. It's funny because this is a track that a good friend of mine, the first time he came here to race, he said it was his very first big boy racetrack that he ever raced on, and it takes a lot of guts to put in not only a clean lap, but a clean 75-minute race here at Road Atlanta.
Honestly, it really does. This is, like you said, the home of the Petit Le Mans. It doesn't have all the class and the prestige that the real Le Mans does, but honestly, this is one of my favorite tracks here in the United States. It's so much fun. You head down into Turn 1, very challenging Turn 1. It's one of the hardest things to get right in all of sim racing, really all of real-life racing, I would say, because it's a blind corner. It pays you dividends if you get it right, but you can get it so wrong and wind up putting yourself off into the tires.
Yeah, there are so many places here to run wide at turn 7 onto that crucial corner, probably the slowest corner on the course, bringing you onto that tremendously long back straight here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, and much like Monza, the exit speed onto that straight is going to be brutally important, but also over the course of a 75-minute race, I think we're going to see a lot of strategy come into play with our drivers here, who will be taking 2 pit stops over the course of the evening. How much can they lay out of the throttle? How much fuel can they save on that back straight, knowing that one of the prime passing zones is right at the very end of that straight, the 10A, 10B complex?
Yeah, that's a fantastic point you raised, because like you said, at this track, there is a lot of, you go up the hill for the first half of the lap, and then for the second half of the lap, you're kind of going back down the hill. So there are some prime opportunities to save fuel, but like you said, prime passing opportunity is at the bottom just before you cross the start-finish line, before you do that left-right chicane over the hill. So you really need to keep your foot to the throttle, to the floor, if you want to pass people there, but if you want to save fuel, you can't do that. And like you said, it's so hard to pass here. I think we're going to see a lot of guys making their passes in the pit lane, or rather because they went to the pit lane earlier or later than other guys.
I think that's exactly right. Or they put pressure on a driver maybe going into turn 5 or going into turn 3. All right, so as we have our drivers there on their last little warm-up here before we go and take the green, let's quickly take a quick look at where we stand as we're really starting to wind things down here in the RATC. This is, as we mentioned, round 9 of 10 rounds. And if we take a look and see where we are in the 3 different categories, there are 2 championships that Austin and I were talking before we went on air that we think at least the champion may already be named, or pretty close, but things are definitely very tight in the 3rd. Right now, in the pro class, Sean Campbell is currently your points leader. He's got 695 points. That's 15 points up on PJ Sturgios, who was our winner last week at Monza. Sean finished 2nd at Monza. And then we've got Justin Brunner in his McLaren, who's sitting just another 15 points back from PJ Sturgios in 3rd in the points. He also finished 3rd on track. And so really the next 2 race outings, both here at Road Atlanta and next week when we go to the Red Bull Ring, can really decide who comes away with that wonderful PSR1 sim rig provided by Race Anywhere, and we want to thank them for providing the prizes for our drivers' championships in the 3 classes. If we take a look at Pro-Am, Again, we think this one might be wrapped up, but Dan Tenorio in the Twisted Racing Lamborghini currently has 620 points. That is 80 points up on Frederic Lavoie in his Alt Racing BMW. He has 540 points. He is tied right now with John Cooper in the number 18 Turnburn Moto Lamborghini. Both of them are at 540 points. Should mention that there are prizes for second and third in the championship as well. And then Brent Bravada, he is only 5 points back from there, currently sitting in fourth. Eric Kulaga fairly close back in fifth in the standings right now in the Pro-Am. And if we take a look at the Am category, Eric Kulaga with a commanding 85-point advantage right now. Kulaga driving the Vulture Motorsports Lambo. His teammate, Steven Martinez, also in a Lamborghini, sitting back with 600 points. That's a 30-point advantage over Errol Yerksoy in his Emerlex Lamborghini. So 3 Lambos at the top of the Am category right now. Errol has 570 points and another 40 back to Jay Steffi in the Q3 Sim Sports Porsche. So again, it looks like Kulaga, it's his championship to lose right now, but definitely lots of opportunity there, not only in the Am category, but our other 2 categories as well.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, obviously the points are pretty tight in the pro category, but in the other 2, they're pretty widespread. But, I mean, these guys aren't exactly out of the woods yet. You don't really have a one race lead over the guy behind you because there is a drop week, right? And like you said, one guy's dropping a 20-point race, the other guy's dropping a 25-point race. So if either of those guys has another 20-point race, that's about 70 points, you know, if your competitor has another 90-point race. And that's what all the leaders in the 2 other classes have been running is 90-point races, which is, you know, first, second, or third, either 195 or 90 points. So not quite out of the woods yet, but honestly, you could pretty much have another couple bad races because no one's really dropped one, quote unquote, yet. We'll know that next race to kind of get an even better idea who's still in and who's out. But again, you know, if there is a bad race, you know, someone can easily come right up into the championship hunt.
Exactly right there, Austin. All right, so as we have now just a bit over 2 minutes remaining before our drivers grid up for tonight's 75-minute battle to the checkered flag here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Let's talk a little bit. We mentioned them here a moment ago, Race Anywhere, the sponsor of our driver championship. And by the way, you can find out about all of our sponsors and links to them in the description below. But Race Anywhere, they were founded with one goal, and that was to deliver a better customer experience for the sim racing community. And they offer products from Pro Sim Rig. They've got rig accessories as well, wheels, pedal sets, and a whole lot more. And they also ship globally. And as we mentioned, we want to thank them for supplying the prizes for our top finishers in class, including that Pro Sim Rig PSR1 8020 rig to each of our class winners. You can find out more about them at raceanywhere.co.uk. Also, Sim3D, who is sponsoring our team championship. They enhance your sim racing experience with custom-built products such as button boxes and immersion kits, as well as paddle shifter replaces. And you can find out more about them at www.sim-3d.co.uk. And then, of course, there is For the Gap, that they've got a wide range of inspiring and motor racing inspired prints to bring some life into your house. Check them out at etsy.com/shop/GoForTheGap, and make sure you get your special discount code when ordering 2 or more prints. Mark and Seb will be glad you did. All right, so looks like we're winding things down here in practice, taking a look on track right now at Matthew Alvis in the number 87 Am category BMW as he comes out of turn 7 and makes his way down the back straight here. And you can see just how long things are here at Road Atlanta. And then they drop down that hill hard on the brakes into 10A and 10B. Prime passing opportunity here, and I'll tell you, I would not be surprised, Austin, if we see a little argy-bargy, couple door slammers there going into 10A, at least at some point here before the night is done.
I wouldn't be surprised if we did either. Another place I think we're going to see a lot of them is when you go up the hill, there's the two right-hander, about 90-degree turns. One thing to keep in mind, though, one of them's just a bit sharper than the other, although it's in the inverse that we saw them at Monza. So the second corner is a bit more acute of an angle than the first. But it looks like we're going to start the gridding order here.
All right, so let's go and we'll start to run down the grid. And hey, Austin, this week we've got a little time because it looks like we're running looks like we're going to be running the full pace lap here at Michelin Raceway. Why don't we start off with the pro category? And of course, we do all of our gridding based on an inverse of the points order currently in the championship for each one of our categories. And so starting tonight on the pole is going to be Dave Menino in his SRT eSport McLaren. Starting right next to him, Ryan Kaprowski in the Riddle Rocket Racing Audi. Harry Wills will start on the inside of row number 2 in his Twisted Racing Mercedes. Then we've got Justin Brunner in the Inex Racing McLaren. Row number 3, we've got PJ Sturgios and then Sean Campbell. And as we mentioned, they lead our pro category at the moment. All right, so let's take a look at the Pro-Am category. And starting on pole tonight in Pro-Am is going to be Thomas Fisher in the Vulture Motorsports Lamborghini, with Taylor Lane in the fiercely forward Lamborghini starting next to him. Then we've got Joseph Smith and Blake Scott, both in Lamborghinis. If we then jump from there, if we can go to the next set, Daniel.
We're going to have Andrew Rasmussen lining up behind them in, in fifth, followed by Wilson Brewer in sixth. Tyler Campbell's going to line up seventh, followed by Michael Kulaga in eighth. Then we get to our championship top hitters. Brent Nevada in ninth, followed by John Cooper, going to round out your top 10. Frederick Lava lines up 11th, followed by Daniel Tenorio to round out your field.
All right, and let's take a look at the AM category now. Starting at the top of the AM category is going to be Andrew Hewitt in the number 21 McLaren, with Mark Scott lining up right next to him in the number 67 Lamborghini. Then we've got Matthew Alvis driving his BMW, with Jason Bridges starting right beside him. Then we've got Kyle Herlitzky in the Boatman Racing entry, with John Casey starting in sixth. Then Drew Neubauer and Travis Kepler. Then we've got Ken Soska, Dan Floria, Jay Steffi, and Michael Fowler. Pardon me. And then we jump down to our current leaders in the category. That's Errol Ureksoy, who's currently running third, with Steven Martinez starting 14th tonight. He is currently running second in the championship, and we mentioned it earlier, the Vulture Motorsports entry of Eric Kulaga, the Lamborghini. He is currently your points leader in the AM, and he will start 15th.
I'm really excited to see just how fast the guys starting in the back of all these fields can make their way to the front. Like you said, such a tough track to pass on. It mostly just comes down to waiting for the person in front of you to make a mistake. And usually these guys have shown that they don't make a whole lot of mistakes, so they might be in the back of the pack for quite a while tonight.
Yeah, it may be very difficult for them to make their way up through the field, and there's enough here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta to really inhibit a charge. Turn 1 is a very fast corner. Of course, what we're going to be doing is our drivers are now making their way through turn 10B and starting to make their way up the hill towards the Fox Factory Bridge. They can't start accelerating until they get to the start-finish line. So it's going to make that first run into turn 1 a little bit slower here as the field now comes down out of turn 12. And looks as though Dave Menino got a little bit of a jump on the field there. But as the field goes down into turn 1, it is Harry Wills, Ryan Kropowski, then Sean Campbell. And looks like Brunner and Campbell are side by side, with PJ Sturgios and his BMW settling in right behind, as our AM category now comes underneath the Fox Factory Bridge and starts to run down towards turn 12. Again, Thomas Fisher and Taylor Lane. And we've got Taylor Lane there on the outside in the 32 machine, and then Fisher to the inside. Fisher, one of our only Canadians in the field here tonight, as they come down the front straight and make their way over towards turn 1, and cutting across lane is Thomas Fisher. He's going to be your leader going into turn 1 and starting to head up the hill, with Blake Scott, Joseph Smith, then Wilson Brewer and Andrew Rasmussen. Brewer and Rasmussen, those two Audis going at it once again. And looks like Rasmussen just got by Brent Bravata as they went into the very difficult turn 3, which is one of those corners, Austin, that we'll talk about a little bit later, as our AM category now makes their way through turn 1. And Andrew Hewitt had issues there going through turn 1. Mark Scott got through. Oh, and
wow,
a big
crash.
wreck.
Yeah,
big
Mason
crash.
Bridges, a couple other drivers involved. Wow, my goodness.
That looks like Bridges, I think Steffi, I think Michael Fowler as well in the Audi, all involved coming up the hill out of turn number 2. Did not even make it into that very difficult right-hander turn number 3. That moves, we've got Mark Scott and Andrew Hewitt with Mont Alvis now, your top 3 in the AM category. But let's jump back now to this battle for the lead in the pro category. PJ Sturgios, he has gotten around Justin Brunner, and looks like we've got another car off in the S's there up against the wall. But then let's take a look. There is the number 59 machine. He is in the gravel trap on the outside of turn 10A. That was our leader. That was our pole sitter in the Pro-Am category, Austin, and turn 10A and 10B already causing problems for some of our drivers as Tom Fisher now drops to the back of the 11-car Pro-Am field.
Yep, right now we're going to look at Joseph Smith, and this is going to be a battle for 4th in the Pro-Am category between Brent Bravata, Cooper, and there you see behind him one of the other heavy hitters is going to be Frederick Lava and his BMW. You can see these guys are going through the S's right now. This is a very, very fast part of the track, but you have to set the car up really well to go over that bump right there. You saw that on the outside of the track there, just on the right. If you hit that wrong, you're going to want to spin the car out, and it's going to be very, very hard to keep it under control. Yeah. I want to say, though, head down into turns 10A and 10B, very, very long braking zone. I've seen a lot of guys, even Juan Pablo Montoya in the prototype class here at the Petit Le Mans a couple years ago. He actually got his right sides in the grass, and you can see that just really wants to spin the car out. Odds are, I'm almost kind of curious if that's what Andrew Hewitt did there last lap, and that's what put him into the gravel trap there. Interested to see that in a second.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to get a replay there as we're on board right now. There is Wilson Brewer battling it out with Blake Scott for the lead in Pro-Am, and that moves Brewer now up to the lead there in the Pro-Am category in his number 62 Audi as we jump back. And it looks like Scott not done yet as they go side by side into turn 1. That corner usually just a small drag of the brake and then up the hill. Not a very heavy braking zone there, but not uncommon to see drivers go side by side as we're looking at Brent Bravata and Taylor Lane right now. As typically then they got to get hard on the brakes for turn 3 and start heading down the S's. Austin, I was going to say the S's are not normally an area where you see side by side racing either, but drivers going at it already very early in the 75-minute race.
No, you really don't want to be side-by-side going through the S's because it's hard enough to put one car through there. I would hate to try to put 2 in there. I've done it enough in a prototype trying to class slower class cars. It is honestly, it's a real pain to have to do that. You can see, that's what I was talking about, the 2 right-handers at the upper part of the track, halfway through your lap at the top of the hill. Second right-hander is a lot tighter than the first one, so you really need to do a good job pointing the car to head down this back straightaway here.
Yeah, and again, this is they were coming out of turn 7, very critical, slowest corner on the track to get a good jump there, to get the power down, and still side by side is the battle for, this is the battle as we are watching for third with Bravata and Lane with John Cooper, who we're on board with, sitting right back behind them. And at least for the moment, Brent Bravata, he takes over 3rd place in his Lamborghini, move Taylor Lane now into 4th with John Cooper. Also in a Lamborghini, sitting now back in 5th position as they all go nose to tail up the hill. And we'll take a look at that entry into turn number 3 where they get hard on the brakes, use a little bit of curbing there. And the challenge, Austin, there when they use that curb is not to have the car jump through the air enough that they go off driver's left, that they can actually get some grip down to head down through the S's there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. One thing I want to mention too, were this one of the first races on the calendar, I guarantee none of these guys will want to go side by side through the S's. But, after 8 rounds, this is going to be the 9th round of the series. These guys really can trust each other. As you can see, this is going to be Sean Campbell. Looks like he's making a move there on the outside. Yep, this is how they ended up getting around. I believe that's Harry Wills and his Mercedes there. So, like you said, just outbraking your opponent is one of the best places to make a pass here. Really, really sketchy, though, because if you just misjudge your braking point by that much, you will wind up in the gravel trap there, like we saw Andrew Hewitt.
Yeah, and so that moved Sean Campbell up to second overall. And if you saw the tail end of that replay, PJ Sturgios in his BMW, he managed to get by Harry Wills as well. So moved Sturgio up to third overall with Harry Wills. Now back and forth as we jump back over to this. We were looking at that battle in the Pro-Am, but let's jump over now to the AM category. We'll give them a little bit of stroke here as we've got, 4 cars all in a row, actually more than that, heading down into turn 10A. We're on board right now with John Casey. He's sitting in that Porsche. He is the second car in line. He's got Drew Neubauer right ahead of him. That is the battle for 5th at the moment with Errol Yerksoy, who is our points leader right now in the AM category. In his Lamborghini, he is sitting in that number 13 machine. He is sitting back in 7th, trying to make a move on Casey coming on up the hill.
Yeah, you can see him right there. He's just barely putting his nose inside of the other car to say, hey, buddy, I don't know if you realize, but I'm right here, ready to make a move. He isn't quite able to do it. Wisely backs out of it. It's not really a good place to pass people. The S's aren't in general. Usually you look for that either in turn 6 and 7 or turn 10A and 10B. You might be able to catch a guy out in the very last corner, but then you risk putting him outside on the outer part of the track, and they can always bounce off the tire barriers and come back into you. That's really unfortunate way to go, too.
All right, and here are those 2 right-handers that you were talking about, Austin, as we'll jump back over here to the action here in a second. One thing about that first of those 2 right-handers, very heavily camber turned. You can carry a lot more speed there. Oh, and getting together, Joseph Smith, it looks like in the number 55 machine, as well as, was that Michael Kulaga? I believe that.
I believe it was, yeah. You can see right there. Yep, still registered in 9th there. I believe that was Michael.
Yeah, and so a little bit of an issue there going down into 10A, and there you go. Oh, actually, it was, yep. Yeah, the Audi of Rasmussen, not Kulaga. There's Rasmussen as he now gets back underway. He's going to fall back now into 12th. That is sitting now dead last in the Pro-Am category as those 2 drivers got together down at 10A.
You know, I'm not sure if they got together. I think if they got together, much as it's been a little bit of netcode, as we see that's going to be the Lamborghini of John Cooper, I believe. It looks like he spun up pretty hard there down the straightaway. We're going to get a replay of that right here.
And Cooper, you can see there is, we talked about the exit of turn 5. If you get it wrong, not unheard of. Actually, it's very well heard of to go off wide there at turn 5 and have the car just shoot right back across the grass to driver's right. And you can see there are lots of cement wall to stop your advance. And that is bad news for Cooper, who finished 3rd last week at Monza and is currently running 3rd in the Pro-Am category championship. We mentioned he was tied in the points, actually not in 3rd, tied for 2nd with Frederick Lavoie in the Pro-Am. All right, so
yeah, really unfortunate there what happened to him. As you can see, there's really 2 ways you can end up making a mistake there in turn 5. We're going to go look at this battle for 1st in class. This is going to be Dave Menino trying to hunt down Sean Campbell, PJ Sturgios, you see right there. These guys start in the back, like you said there. And so what they're doing, folks, is they're trying to make their way up to the field as fast as they possibly can. But, the closer you get to the front of the field, the competition just gets stiffer and stiffer as the race goes on.
Yeah, and they're going to be hitting a very short track here at 2.5 miles at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta, and you can see here Dave Menino, Campbell, Sturgios already coming up on
big
traffic.
wreck in front of him. I think
and our leader,
Sean Campbell. No, that was the leader, Dave Menino. Wow.
Dave Menino gets into the back of traffic. I was just going to say here, Austin, that they were coming up into the back of the AM category traffic, and Dave Menino gets it literally into that traffic going down through the S's, and he now drops all the way back into 6th in the Pro-Am, or pardon me, into the Pro category. And now you can see our new leader, Sean Campbell, with PJ Sturgios, and they had lots of issues. Harry Wills gets by as well. They had lots of issues trying to get through that AM category going between turns 5 and turn 6. And you can see here now is Campbell trying to break the draft as they come down the hill under braking into turn 10A.
Yeah, one of the things I've been watching this battle for a while here. PJ is a lot better on the brakes than Sean, as you can see. Just took advantage of that right there. Going to put himself up in the lead here. Clean air is a huge deal around this track because you're the first car that gets to approach all these tight corners. These are all corners you really have to fully commit, especially the last one and the first one. You have to be fully committed, and your line needs to be so precise because if you're just a millimeter off, you're going to have an extremely bad time. You can see they made contact there. That's going to be Daniel Floria. I think the other car is
and that was the
Hewitt.
I believe that was the 27 of Kepler, Travis Kepler that got together with Floria there as they both tried to go through turn one side by side.
Yep, you can see, you know, that to my point too. If you're just a millimeter off, you can't really tell where the line is. It's difficult to tell how much speed you can really carry. Right now, we're going to look at the 87 car of Matthew Alvis. You can see he just runs a bit wide there going through turn 3. One of the hardest places, like you mentioned there, Greg, it's extremely hard to know just where the line is for that corner when you cross the hill.
And here we're going back to that action that put Dave Menino off going into the S's there, as you know, he was trying to keep that overall lead and just ran into tons and tons of AM category traffic. As we now take a look at, and this could be really interesting here as we take a look again at that replay and looking at Errol Yerksoy, who's currently sitting 7th in the Pro-Am, or probably in the AM category. Remember, Yerksoy is 3rd in the points right now, trying to make his way around Martinez. As we jump back now to the battle for the overall lead, Sturgios, who had taken the lead away from Sean Campbell just a half a lap ago, and now as they go side by side through turn 1, Sean Campbell puts the McLaren around. He's now going to drop to the back of the Pro category, does manage to rejoin, but that is going to now drop him all the way down into 4th in the category, with PJ Sturgios now with a commanding lead over Justin Brunner.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say that we've even seen one mistake out of our championship competitors, but I think that's the first mistake I've ever seen Sean Campbell make, and you can see it wasn't really a forced error. It's just kind of going into turn 1. You don't really practice going in there too wide. You can see he just tried to hold the steering wheel a little bit too tight to the right there, ended up spinning the car out. And that's just a product of the close racing that these guys have. But, you know, not all is lost, though. You can always have, you know, maybe PJ has a tough time getting through some traffic, or heaven forbid, has a mistake of his own, or even gets involved in you know, some lap car traffic, kind of the same way we saw Dave Menino do it. So fingers crossed that nothing bad like that happens. But, you know, as a race car driver, you're always looking for those opportunities. Right now, as we're looking at Dan Tenorio trying to chase down Frederick Lavoie in that BMW.
Yeah, and as they run through, remember, Tenorio currently, he is your leader in the points right now in the Pro-Am. And again, we think that Tenorio should be able to lock things up if he can just stay clean here this evening. Again, as he has Frederick Lavoie sitting right ahead of him in that BMW. Lavoie currently running 2nd in the points, looks like almost 80 points down.
Yep, yeah. I honestly, folks, I'd be surprised if a couple of championships weren't, you know, pretty rigidly locked up when we leave here tonight. But anything will happen. This is motor racing. You know, we've seen stranger things happen right now. You can see these guys are just trying to follow each other. I wouldn't be too surprised if Dan just kind of biding his time. But, you know, also if Frederick makes any kind of mistake or slips up in the slightest bit, I would really expect Daniel to pounce here.
Yeah, I would as well here, as you can see, as they make their way up through turn 1. You know, but yeah, we can say championships are locked up here, Austin. But you know, you watch them here, and I think, you know, once they get into the heat of the battle, especially this early on in the race, it's going to be very difficult to not engage in battle, especially as these two drivers are currently sitting mid-pack in the Pro-Am field here tonight.
Yeah, I also just wouldn't be too surprised here to maybe see the Daniels saving just a little bit of fuel. It's not going to be a lot, but even one lap's worth of fuel is really going to help you try to overcut or undercut the driver ahead of you. So wouldn't be too surprised if that's what he's doing. You can see he's kind of searching around, maybe trying to keep himself in Frederick's mind there. That's one of the easier ways to make a pass, is just force your competitor into a mistake by taking up all the room in his rearview mirror.
Yeah, but as you watch this here, it looks to be like Lavoie took a very defensive line almost from the very start of the back straight there. You can see he thought he had enough clearance, so he cut back over to driver's right before making his turn in for turn 10A. but I think Lavoie thinks there's a battle going on there. Here, as we take a look, going side by side now into turn 10A, it's Fisher and Smith. This is the battle for 8th in the Pro-Am. And you can see there, Fisher, of course, was our pole sitter. He had that very early spin. Well, we don't know if it was a spin. All we know, we saw him in the gravel trap at turn 10A after the first lap. And he has been trying to fight his way back ever since. So he's moved up now from 10th now to 9th and now to 8th here in the Pro-Am. By the way, for you watching at home, if we keep referring to the Pro category, the Pro-Am, and the Am category, as you take a look at the timing tower there over on the left-hand side, the drivers with the white slashes next to their position, they are in the Pro category. The drivers with the blue slashes next to their names or next to their positions, those are the Pro-Am, and the ones with the red slashes, they are the Am category. The driver that has the little yellow slash next to him, he's the driver that we're watching on track currently, and that is the number 59 of Tom Fisher. As we jump back over now, we've been watching this battle between Lavoie and Tenorio, and they've actually moved up a position. It looks like one of our other drivers might have fallen back. Actually, I think it was Tyler Campbell sitting back into the pits as we're on board with Lavoie, looking out the rear of Lavoie's BMW back at Dan Tenorio.
Yep, you can see Dan's just, I mean, I really have to imagine, I think he's just waiting for a mistake here. I almost kind of wonder if he's trying to save his tires, trying to save a little fuel right now as we're going to jump up to the battle second in class. This is in the Am category. You can see the red slashes like you just talked about, Greg. Textbook pass there for Eric Kulaga going around Drew Neubauer there. As you can see, that's going to be Stephen Martinez trying to make another pass as well, just to follow his fellow Lamborghini through. A couple Lamborghinis here. You can tell these guys are really just going all at it. Same car, you know, same strengths, same weaknesses. So these guys are really just putting it all on the line. Some of it might be due to setup. You can adjust these cars a little bit setup wise, but I wouldn't be too surprised if these guys are all relatively close in the setup. You're just going for what feels comfortable around here. That's less about all out and out speed down the straightaway, because, you know, there's a lot of corners on this track. You need downforce here.
Oh, yeah, certainly you do. For example, right here coming through turn number 5. So as we are on board and watching Eric Kulaga in the number 66 machine, currently running second, he is your current points leader, and right behind him is his Vulture Motorsports teammate. That is Stephen Martinez, who is currently running second in the championship and running third here tonight. But you can see they're starting to make up some ground, I think, on Mark Scott, but still a long way to go. I think about 17 seconds or so up ahead is Scott. So right now, a good advantage there. Jumped out to a very early lead, but I think one of those advantages that Scott had was as our Pro category was starting to come through that AM traffic. The one driver that got away scot-free was Mark Scott.
Yeah, you can see, just to, you know, comment on that Pro battle like you just mentioned, behind these two team cars, that's going to be Sean Campbell and his McLaren just behind him. So you can just see what that interval is like from these guys back down to Sean there. Pretty large gap, 10 seconds right now, just to his championship competitor, PJ Sturgis. So he's got a lot of ground to make up. One of the hardest things, though, is to pass a car that's almost as fast as you are, and that's going to be these guys in the M category. Even though they are 2 classes down, they still present quite the challenge to pass. And of course, you know, if you're Stephen Martinez here, you don't want to just pull over for this guy, because anytime you give up to him, you're going to lose that time to your competitor and teammate rather as well.
Oh, and this
Kulaga.
This could make a huge difference tonight. That was Eric Kulaga going off at the exit of 10B, going into the bridge abutment. Pardon me, not Kulaga. That was Errol Yeriksoy in the number 13 Lamborghini, going off into the bridge abutment. Remember, coming into the evening, he was 30 points back behind Stephen Martinez, running in third in the AM category, but that is also going to put him most likely into the pits for an extended period of time, and we'll have to see how this plays out now in the AM categories. That now moves Kulaga and Martinez up to second and third respectively behind Mark Scott.
Yeah, right now we're going to ride along with Andrew Rasmussen. He was one of the guys we saw. He was the car that got spun out in 10A and 10B there. That's the purple car, the shiny purple car with the yellow mirrors. You can kind of see those just right off there and then out the right side window. He's currently trying to get around Trevor Fisher here. So you can see just how hard it is. What, fantastic spot. Camera angle there on Daniel's part going through the S's. It's such a fun, fast, flowing part of the track. It's really, really fun to do if you get it right, but if you get it wrong, just you're going to be beating yourself up about it for a while. You can see he's just going to poke his nose out here, trying to outbrake the car to his outside. It looks like he can get it done. Textbook pass right there. That's how you want to do it. Of course, the Lamborghini is going to try to come back at him, see if he can do the crossover around the outside. He's just going to try to tuck the car back on the inside of him here down the straightaway to get a better run going into turn one. Doesn't look like he'll be quite close enough, but I think right now he's just sizing him up. Although Rasmussen did end up catching Fisher there, so I'm sure he'll be able to pull away. But on the off chance he doesn't, this is going to be a fun battle for another lap or two, I think.
Yeah, I would continue to watch this as they make their way down the S's and see what happens when they come out onto the back straight again here. Yeah, Austin, one of the things that you find a lot of times with the drivers when they go into that 10A, 10B complex is if they try to outbrake the car ahead of them, a lot of times they'll outbrake themselves, go far too deep into 10A, and then it's possible to do that over/under coming out of 10B and heading up to the bridge. And for a moment there, it looked like Rasmussen was going to be in that position, and that Fisher's Lamborghini might be able to bring the charge back and get him going down the hill into turn 12. But here you can see Rasmussen got a much better jump out of 7 this time by, and I don't think he's going to have to worry much about Thomas Fisher here. I think it's probably going to be Kulaga that's going to have to worry about that Audi in a few moments here as we go and take a look. Oh, running wide.
Wow, what a save there. I haven't seen many drivers be able to pull something back in line like that. Not since at least we were at Road America. We saw some pretty immaculate saves.
Yeah, we did. So that was Blake Scott in the Lamborghini, and I believe Scott has now maybe to clean the shorts a little bit, has brought his car down into the pits for his first pit stop of the evening. As we take a look there, as Ken Soska has some issues there going through the S's, and yeah, we keep coming back to how difficult it is to go down through the S's there side by side, but. It's one of those things. If you turn in early, each one of those corners through there are really, really very, very tight, and it's easy if you turn in just a little bit early to run wide to either take the curbing or, and we'll definitely have to be watching this as this race continues on, Austin, as we get late in the race, for cars to just put in a lot, if they're starting to understeer, for cars to basically just push right off the track going down through those S's if you're not careful with the throttle. As we take a look now at Michael Fowler, another one of our Audis on track. He's currently running 8th, and you can see the tremendous amount of damage that he's had to the rear of that car, where perhaps the aero, Austin, is not going to be much of a help for him.
No, I mean, the aero isn't going to help him in the turns, but that certainly is going to help him down the straightaways. I guarantee he's got a lot less drag compared to some of the other cars, but you can see just how bad it's affecting him. You can see he got really loose heading into turn 1 there. The car just wasn't able to steer, give him that rear downforce, the confidence to really go into the corner there, so he had to just do a little bit of a slide and correct it there. So obviously you can kind of see all the time that lost him to the car ahead of him. That's going to be of Urixoy, so not exactly what he wants. No, it's not Urixoy, sorry. I couldn't see the number, but you can see just how much has affected him in the course of just a single lap here.
Yeah, it's definitely going to end up being a challenge for him here. With some of the sweeping corners, probably the biggest one that's going to be a challenge is going through turn 1 as we jump back over to the Pro-Am category with Kulaga and Martinez, and that's Wilson Brewer sitting right back behind Martinez in the 53 machine. Brewer, one of our Pro-Am drivers, trying to make his way back up through traffic here, as Brewer has already gone through his first pit stop. But still a great battle going on between the two Vulture Motorsports entries of Kulaga and Martinez. They are currently running 2nd and 3rd in the AM category, 15th and 16th overall.
Yep, you can see these guys are still pretty much lock and step here, heel and toeing around the racetrack. I'm not sure if these guys, I haven't seen quite as many moves out of the two of these guys. I'm not sure if they're kind of just playing it safe, riding behind each other, and unless one of them makes a mistake. They probably, odds are no, there is no way they're ever going to be able to catch Mark Scott, the leader in their class. And like you mentioned, just one of the lucky guys that started at the front of the field and it was able to avoid all the chaos that we saw take out Harry Wills, or not Harry Wills there, that would have been Dave Menino in the pro category trying to lap these guys at the start of the race. So he's currently scot-free, got a huge lead over these guys, but of course you can't breathe too much because, that lead will go away real fast with how fast these laps click by.
Yeah, that could certainly be an issue there, but you can see, and I think what has helped Kulaga and Martinez very much here, is that they've had a nice little pocket on track. Again, we've talked about a lot of the drivers running very similar lap times, and both of these drivers, they've had this area of free track ahead of them. You can see the next driver up in line, who I think is Frederic Lavoie in the BMW, if I remember correctly, there. But again, it looks like it's going to be a long time before those drivers have to worry about that. I think probably the biggest issue is they'll have to worry about some of these drivers coming up from behind. Like I believe we've got Tyler Campbell, who's starting to make up some ground on Martinez in his Pro-Am Porsche, the number 6 machine, and he may be coming soon, as it looks like Kulaga has a little bit of an issue there going into turn 10A and had to gather things back up, and you can see his teammate.
Oh no, they're pitting. That's why they've got through there so slowly, relatively speaking. These guys are both going to pit.
There we go. So both of the Vulture Motorsports teammates come into the pits at the same time, and that's the first stop for both of those drivers. So we can see now, very, very well ensconced in our first pit cycles here from Road Atlanta.
Right now we're going to look at Michael Kulaga and Andrew Rasmussen here. These guys are battling for third in their respective class, going to be the Pro-Am category. You can see Brent Bravata in their class just dove into the pit lane, so be curious to see if these guys follow him in there this lap or not. But right now these guys, Michael's having himself a pretty good race. Andrew, though, he's having to make up a lot of lost ground. Yes. Like I said, we saw him get spun out. I don't know if there was contact there. I don't see any damage on his car, so I feel like he might have just spun the car out on his own, maybe a little bit of netco, but for sure no damage on his car, so it might have been just a self-inflicted error.
All right, so and you can see here they did not head to the pit lane. So Brent Bavada, who is still sitting in his pit box here, he'll likely be rolling down the pit lane in just a few moments. And Joseph Smith also in the pits right now. So that is going to move Kulaga and Rasmussen up to second and third. And Bravada, who just now rejoins, is going to rejoin in fifth position as Blake Scott manages to get around him. So we'll see how much longer these two drivers decide to stay out. But it looks like most of our Pro-Am field has already come in actually about half has come in for their first pit stop. Oh, look at this here as John Casey in the number 78 machine gets it a little wrong, carries a little bit too much speed through the corner, doesn't hit anything and continues on. And I think this is to the point where Austin, I think this is the point where we start to see people making those mistakes that we talked about at the top of the show. And there is Andrew Hewitt, who just put his car around, coming underneath the Fox Factory Bridge and coming down that very fast turn 12. And there you go. There we go. Looks like Kulaga, he is going to head into the pits, and Andrew Rasmussen with some open track ahead of him. He's going to try and put in a flyer here and see if he can make the overcut.
Yeah, like you said, this is, we're getting into the race here, about a half hour into this race. This is when we start seeing a couple mistakes. This is when guys start looking at their fuel numbers on the apex. You're looking down, you're not really paying attention where you're going. You kind of put too much, too little, wheel or brake into the car, or even throttle for that point too. But yeah, if you're Andrew Rasmussen right now, clean track ahead of you, first in your class, you want to stay out of the pits here as long as you can. Unfortunately, though, I think we saw a lot of his competitors come into the pits. I think they're pretty short on fuel as well. So this might be, he might only have 1 or 2 laps on fuel here, but this is great for him. This is what he needs in order to put himself back into, fighting chance of the win here. Just more open, clean track. You can see he was fighting his way up through the field, passing guys, making up time. I think this is what he needed, but I expect to see him in the pits within the next lap or two.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's going to be probably running that Audi pretty close to dry if he doesn't bring that car in the next two laps or so. But you know, as long as he's got the free track ahead of him, might as well use it. And here he goes. He's going to drop into the pits. So bring Andrew Rasmussen in. He had about a 20-second advantage over Blake Scott. Of course, that's going to be gone. Oh, and look at this. This is one of our leaders. This was Mark Scott in the number 67 machine. He had that huge advantage. We were just talking about that 17-second advantage that he had over Eric Kulaga and also over Steven Martinez. That 17-second advantage is no more. It is now about a second and a half over Kulaga, as we just saw our leader in the AM category spin that car around. He gets it back underway without losing a position. But what was a very strong and very expansive lead has just disappeared in the span of about 20 seconds here, Austin.
Yeah, you can see just how close the battle is right now. You just saw the two cars, the two teammates crest the hill, the second one of them. So you can see this is now a three-way fight for the lead. I think we're going to see what happened here. Just cresting. This is going to be the turn one as he comes in. This is turn 3 right here. Yeah, he just misses it, spins the car out, and I think he just barely, yeah, so this is going to have to be like probably a 3-point turn here and really get the car spun, turn around. And yeah, that's worth at least 10 seconds or so, and then you probably have a slowdown from that. And you're also going to need to clean off your tires as well, so you can't just put your foot down right away. So, you know, like we said, anything can and will happen.
All right, so let's take a look here as we're on board now with Mark Scott. You can see Eric Kulaga, who is our points leader in the category. He is starting to close things down. Maybe he senses, smells a little bit of blood there as they start to make their way through. Oh, and look at this here. This is the number 20 machine of Dan Floria. He has a little bit of an issue there over at turn 5. Floria currently running 9th in the AM category.
Yeah, that's going to scare you, but honestly, he kept all 4 wheels of it, you know, right where they should be on the ground. You know, did a little bit of a hop, skip, and a jump, but didn't roll it, didn't hit anything. So, you know, no harm, no foul in terms of that. Certainly seemed worse. So,
yeah, you know, and you know, luckily for Floria, didn't have a lot of traffic behind him. But you know, this is and you know, here we go. Oh, and a big bang on the wall there for Blake Scott, who was our leader in the Pro-Am category. That is now going to move Brent Bravata in his Lamborghini up into the lead with Dan Torrio now running in second. So Blake Scott gets it wrong. And Austin, we were just talking about making those little mistakes. And, you know, you make what looks like a little one at turn 5, and it turns into a big one. There.
Just a little bobble there heading up into turn 5, and you can see I can't imagine he didn't have his eyes in his rearview mirror, just making sure you know how much of a lead he had to the car behind him. Because like I said, the people who start in the front of these fields, you mentioned at the top of the show, Greg, you know, these fields are inverted, inverse points. You know, so if you're in the lead in the points, you're going to wind up last on the grid. So the faster guys are going to be making their way up through the fields. You can see another car just barely got off there. Having to replay that Porsche going off on the front stretch there. You can see, you know, it's time to start making mistakes for these guys. You know, about half hour into the race, this is when it starts to happen. You can see this is John Casey. Just goes a bit wide, trying to let another car by, though. No harm, no foul. Just goes on a little bit of an adventure. It's probably no more than a 1X, I would assume.
Oh, what a great view there coming through turn 12, just to the inside of the apex there. As we're now looking, this is the battle for 7th right now with Michael Kulaga, Wilson Brewer in the Audi going up the hill, trying to make their way through some slower traffic there. Again, the battle for 8th in, 7th. In the Pro-Am category, and they're trying to make their way through some of that Am category traffic nose to tail. Watch the Audi here, and you can see the Audi with a little bit of damage to the rear wing there as well.
Yeah, he's just going to scoot down the straightaway there on the outside of Kulaga, so another position up for Brewer there. We're going to head down the backstretch. Oh, you can see the Mercedes in front of him. That's another one of the ways you can get that second turn wrong there. That's you know, turn 7 there, just a little bit wrong. So that's just part of it, and I'm sure that's very uncomfortable.
That's Harry Wills, and you know, I'll tell you, I've made that move in my Honda many a time. It just feels like the inside front wheel is never going to come back down onto the ground, but that big Mercedes took a pretty big jump all the way over to the exit curbing at the outside of 7. There's a lot of momentum that you got to get under control there when you make that kind of a move over the curbing at the apex of 7. Here, as we look right behind Harry Wills, and still that battle with Wilson, and we're watching Wilson Brewer making his way through, having taken care of Michael Kulaga, and it looks like Kulaga, did he take to the pits? No, it looks like he's still out there. As we jump back over now, and this is back to the battle for the lead. The 3 Lamborghinis up at the front, the battle for the lead in Pro-Am. Dan Tenorio, Brent Bravata, and Blake Scott here, and it looks like from the last time we checked in, it looks like Tenorio and Bravata swap positions.
Yes, sir. You can see, just to mention him too, Frederick Lavad just behind these guys, the sole BMW. You can see here's a position swap going into turn 1, just like you mentioned there, Greg. Good eye. It's hard to tell these 2 cars apart, so you kind of have to go based on the name and the number. So just a little bit of a quick swap there. Not sure if that was orchestrated or not.
Well, I mean, the 2 teammates working together, maybe a plan to help save some fuel coming into their second pit stops there. But does look like Blake Scott, after that spin 2 laps ago, he has started to make up a lot of ground, and he's right on the back of the 2 Vulture Motorsports.
Yeah, you can
there.
see Brent Bavata there in turn 5
Motorsports.
got extremely loose through turn 5, and he didn't even make it all the way out there. So I'm not sure if he's just used up his tires. Maybe that's why he let Daniel by. I'll have to keep an eye on that, but that car seems to be really ill handling for him.
Oh,
as you
yes.
can see. Just barely. I mean, that thing is skirting around on the rear tires pretty hard.
Yeah, coming out of turn 7 there, you could see that the rear end with a lot of issues.
This place, again, like we said, kind of saw that through another car, Aero Urixoy, in the same boat. Doesn't have a whole lot of rear confidence in that car. As you can see, these guys outbraking. It's going to be Blake Scott trying to outbrake Brent Bravata there. Not quite able to get it done. It looks like he'll try to have to do that next time. As we see Frederick Lavad, he's ready to pounce. Someone else makes a move or makes a mistake, maybe goes a little wide trying to outbrake another driver, outbreaks themselves. Just another thing you mentioned there, Greg, you can outbrake yourself really easily into that turn.
Absolutely, you can. Yeah, I mean, we were watching what we thought was a 3-car battle with all the Lamborghinis, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, comes Frederick Lavoie in that white and black BMW, the number 33 machine. And, oh, look at this, running wide. And, yeah, does it look like maybe the tires have gone away from Brent Bravata? Starting to think so. That number 11 car, not just the rears, but it looks like the fronts are starting to have some problems. And again, we mentioned it, going down through those S's puts a heck of a load on the fronts of these cars, and it is not unheard of and not hard to fathom that Bravata is probably going to have to drive that section of the track more with the throttle than with mechanical grip.
Yeah, one thing I want to point out too, when IMSA comes here in real life for the Petit Le Mans, this race starts in the daytime and it ends in the nighttime. So, of course, it's almost wintertime here in the United States. That we are in Atlanta. It's southern part of the country, so it gets pretty hot in the daytime. This track gets hot, it gets slick, so you can see almost contact there. Actually, that looks like the leader. I believe that was Dan Tenorio.
That was Tenorio that went around over at 10B, and another car right ahead of him that had gone around as well, and I don't know if that was if there was contact or if Tenorio.
It looked like a very white car, but I can't tell who that car was.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if Tenorio got into him or if he was just trying to avoid and put that car around. It's a very tough position there. The car gets really loaded up coming through 10B. But
you know what it was? It was another car rejoining the track, and not the safest rejoin. That would have been Drew Neubauer and his Lamborghini. As you can see, I believe we might get a replay. No, this is Tyler Campbell here. We'll get to that replay in just another moment. As you can see, Tyler almost makes a mistake, gives PJ Sturgios quite the scare there, I'm sure.
Yes. Yeah, that was coming over turn 3 and going into the S's. All right, let's take a look here at this incident as we're on board right now. We're taking a look at Drew Neubauer as he came through 10A and 10B right ahead of our lead pack in the Pro-Am category. And he's there, center track, tries to back off the track. And
right here, you're going to see Dan come through here just when he gets almost to the other side of the track, just barely clips Dan there. And Dan is taking his car down the pit road there. I believe he has left the session.
Yeah, that is unfortunate there, as Tenorio, having led the race in the Pro-Am, and That now is going to move, as we take a look, that's going to move Brent Bravata in that number 11 machine up into the lead, and what we think is not, not the best handling machine. He's going to have some issues if he wants to hold on to this lead over Blake Scott and Frederick Lavoie. And I'm sure they've been watching what that car has been doing. As you can see there, coming through turn 2, takes a little bit of curbing going up into turn 2, and then again, car, you can see the push there. Coming down through the S's for that Lamborghini. It is going to be a handle for Brent Bravata. Might get a little bit better as he starts to run some of the fuel down from that first pit stop, Austin. Maybe lightens the car up a little bit. But he's going to probably be driving the mirrors now for about another, 35, 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy task for sure. And I think, honestly, the driver I'd want to be right now is probably Frederick Lavoie. Came from the back of the pack. I think usually he's pretty good at saving his tires. I think, Brent, obviously, he started 5 spots behind Blake, so he's obviously had to use his in order to get all the way up here. I agree with you, though. I think that car is very ill-handling. You can see him, he pushes through the start of the corner and then putting the power down. You can see the rear end just wants to step out on him.
Yeah, so pretty much the only places he's safe is if he can get to the apex on turn in and on exit.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
and down the straightaway.
Yeah, exactly. And here you can see Lavoie sitting a little bit further back now. That BMW's got good jump out of the corners, and it's got very good straight line speed. Obviously through some of the tighter corners, maybe not quite the tool that the Lamborghinis are, maybe down through the S's, but again, a very stable chassis there, and you can see he's using every little bit of pavement and more using the curbing. A lot of the curbing here at Road Atlanta is safe to drive over. We've already seen what happens when a Mercedes goes over the apex curbing at turn 7, but there are definitely some places here where you can open corners up. I think one area that you definitely don't want to get on the curbing is actually coming out of that 10A, 10B complex. It'll rattle your teeth going up through 10B, and definitely if you're all the way out there coming out of 10B, you're usually fighting the car to get it back on the pavement anyhow, and I'm going to lose time. All right, as we jump back over, this is the battle right now with Yurksoy and Neubauer. We saw Neubauer with that spin earlier on. Neubauer currently running 4th in the AM category. Yurksoy, who had his off earlier as well in the number 13 machine, he is currently running 5th. And so both of these drivers trying to make some recovery runs here. They've got about 16 seconds to get up to Kepler. Up ahead, and Kepler currently running in the last podium position right now in the AM category.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see if they can do it. One thing I just caught out of the corner of my eye, yep, it's going to be Travis Kepler. I believe he ended up hitting Brent Bravata, who would have been in the lead car. Actually, maybe Blake Scott. Yeah, I believe he actually hit Blake Scott there in a fellow Lamborghini. One thing I do want to point out, though, between the two guys we were just looking at there, they had both hit something. So you saw that the red and white Lamborghini there, he was the car that spun out a couple of laps ago, and Errol Yurksoy ended up hitting the abutment there to the bridge, coming onto the front straightaway. So both those guys having a fantastic return, at least fight backs. You can see right now we're going to ride along with Ryan Kaprowski here. He's just going to go a little bit wide here in the S's. You can see just behind them, no, it's 2 different Lamborghinis, but now we're going to look at the accident. Yep, that was Kepler just trying to let him by, and Blake just ended up going a little bit too wide there, and I think both those guys just figured, each driver is going to be a foot more in either direction, and they probably each figured there.
Exactly, and it looks like that number 27 machine at Kepler, there he is on the pit lane. That is going to take a very long time to repair. It looked like it was more happy driving in a crab walk than going in a straight line. So we'll see what happens there as we jump back to live action. And it's Neubauer and Yurksoy going down into turn number 1. And Yurksoy, you can see closing things down just a little bit on the 47 machine as they come up the hill over towards turn 3. And watching that 47 machine, did he get a slowdown there? No, it looks like he didn't. But you use that curbing at the apex and can put the wheels all the way over the curbing, but not unheard of for drivers to maybe use a little bit of grass and get a slowdown penalty there at the top of the hill.
Yeah, one thing I'm honestly surprised by, we see it all the time in the real Petite Le Mans, especially in the iRacing Petite Le Mans, a lot of accidents, it's really just a race of survival. I'm
Yeah.
surprised just how many cars we've seen have accidents and actually ended up getting it all wrong here and causing a lot of damage to their cars and honestly pulling out of the race entirely.
Yeah, I hate to say I told you so, but
You did,
this,
you
this,
did.
this track breeds that kind of stuff. I mean, the margins are so. Oh, and there we go. Look at that, Eric Soy and
Oh,
Neubauer
yeah.
getting together on the back straight, coming over the crest of the hill, and Eric Soy definitely getting the worst of it, impacting the wall. And hopefully we can see that again and see exactly what happened there. Looked like Neubauer, yeah, just gave him a little bit of a hip check as they came over that final bend and started to head down the hill. And there was nothing Errol Yerksoy was going to be able to do about that in the number 13 machine.
Yeah, that is a very hard lick. I'm pretty sure that car is totaled. I think it's going to take at least probably 15, 20 minutes to get that car repaired again. Luckily for him, the engine in these Lamborghinis is in the rear half of the car, but quite the accident there.
All right, now this is the battle for third. This is the last points-paying position, or not points-paying position, but the last podium position in the pro category. This is Sean Campbell right now in his McLaren, and Harry Wills in that Mercedes going at it. And Wills showing some pace here. That last time by, actually very similar lap times, but we'll take a look here as they come out onto the back straight, and it looks like Harry Wills has decided not to use that apex curbing any longer, that Mercedes, but you can see here he just doesn't get a great jump off the corner like the McLaren does. And it looks like the McLaren may have broken the draft there as they head down the hill over towards 10A. And they've got, I think, looks like they've got Rasmussen in that Pro-Am Audi just ahead of them, but great battle going on here for third right now overall.
Yeah, honestly, the McLaren probably has the best jump out of a corner of any car, even better than probably the Porsche or the BMW, so you can see him really using that to his advantage. One thing I'd like to point out, too, you saw Beauvoir get ahead of Bravada on the left side of your screen there. They made a little bit of contact going downhill into turns 10A and 10B. Not much damage to either car, though. These guys are getting a little bit argy-bargy here for the win in all the classes.
Yeah, as the tires are starting to go away, some of it, I'm sure none of it's planned, but again, you're starting to see the aggression turned up just a little bit more as the time is starting to tick away, as we now have just about about 25 minutes remaining here in this 75-minute race. And as the tires start to go away, as the concentration maybe starts to go away a little bit, you start to see some of these incidents on track, either between cars or between the circuit and a car.
Yes, sir. We see Sean Campbell. He's had a pretty good recovery drive from the accident we saw him have earlier today. So he's been trying to make his way up to the field. But I think, the speed differential between he and PJ Sturgis is just a bit too large. You can see he was, there's Harry Willis behind him. We saw the accident that Harry Willis had. So both these guys having a pretty tight battle. Currently, though, Brunner, honestly, he's just been having himself a quiet, consistent race here. He started right up near the front there. So he's having himself a pretty good day.
Yeah, and Brunner, our first driver in the pro category to take pit stop number 2. He is now in the pits and drop back in the fourth. We'll see how that plays out.
Wow, what a save there out of Dan Tenorio, I believe that was. You can see Frederic Lafroy almost. I was really worried they would make contact there down the backstretch.
Yeah, I think that was Brett Bravado. Look at that.
Oh,
there you go,
bad,
with the number 11 machine coming out of turn 5. The place that will
dirt tracking.
Yeah, it doesn't take much if you turn in a little early there. You can end up going off driver's right, and there's a little area there where the gravel trap becomes almost like a little triangle at the leading edge, and it can really unsettle the car there. Or if you turn in a little bit late, you get out of the groove and you end up getting into the marbles as well. So real challenging corner there, no matter how many minutes are left in the race. As we jump back over now, this is Michael Fowler in the number 54 Audi. He is currently running fourth 24th in the AM category. We were watching him a little bit earlier there with that massively displaced rear wing, and he's still making a run at it. Again, the car doesn't look happy, especially in some of the sweepers like turn one. But he's got a good run. Unfortunately, Neubauer is still, even with Neubauer's incident earlier, is still about 22 seconds up ahead, firmly ensconced in third place in the AM category.
Yeah, that's right. And really unfortunate there that the wreck happened so early for Michael. But these are one of the days, one of the rounds that you have as a championship competitor. You really learn to give it all you got, and you come out of here with every point you can. And that's what can really make or break your championship here, even if you're not fighting for P1 overall. Oh, wow. Contact here in the Pro-Am category between Frederick Lavoie and Brett Bavada. I believe Lavoie was coming into the pits here. And
let's take a look there.
Spun out. By Brent, but he actually might miss the pits entirely. He's going to have to do a 3-point turn here.
Oof, yeah,
just a little bit of contact.
You could see there as Lavoie was getting out of the throttle a little bit to maybe make his way down into the pits for his second pit stop, and Brett Bavada in the Lamborghini gets into him, and so Lavoie, you can see there as he backs the car up, and he is going to go into the pits, but losing a lot of time in that exchange there.
Yeah, that's probably going to be at least a 10 or 12 second penalty. Excellent camera work by Daniel there up in the broadcast trailer, directing this show as we're on the road here to catch that angle, so we can see Frederick goes into the pits there just to get his car refuel. Not a whole lot of damage being fixed on pit road. Frederick obviously voicing his displeasure over the driver radio here.
As you would expect that he would there. So Bravada, and we'll have to see how things play out at the end of the race. It's not unheard of to have some post-race penalties handed out, but Brett Bravada is currently your leader in the Pro-Am category with a 25-second advantage over the Audi of Wilson Brewer, who we are watching right now. And Austin, it doesn't seem to matter where we look up and down the field. It could be for first, it could be second or third, or it could be eighth in class. Everybody seems to have some damage here tonight that it doesn't seem like anybody has escaped Road Atlanta unscathed.
Yes, sure. You called it. This has really been a race of attrition. I was going to be surprised if we saw it due to this race being solely in the daytime. There's no transition tonight, but of course, we've seen the aggression kind of amp up further and further over the season. These guys are letting it all hang out and getting a little bit of argy-bargy there. That's just how close the margins are.
All right. So we had the two Audis. We had Brewer, and I thought Rasmussen was coming into the pits as well. And it looks like Rasmussen didn't make it into the pits. It looks like he slammed into the pit wall. We may have to take a look at that. Hopefully we could take a look here. Let's take a look here as the purple Audi of Rasmussen comes up the hill. You can see he's heading into the pits, and I think he just got onto the pit lane too quick there. And there you go. He ends up smacking the pit wall. Doesn't actually make it into the pits. It does a lot of damage to that car. That was the 10 of Rasmussen, who is now sitting 8th in the Pro-Am category. And my guess is it's going to take some time to repair that.
Yeah, for sure. I have to imagine the rear suspension is all out of sorts there after hitting the tire barrier with the rear axle. That was, you can see, just entered there a bit too much speed, turned the car to the right pretty easily, going back to turn it to the left. That's when he got all out of sorts, ended up blocking up the rears there, trying to slow down too fast. And I believe that might be his day pretty much done at this point, as we see Andrew Hewitt here in his HRL McLaren. That fantastic looking Gulf livery. Love to see the Gulf colors on any car.
Oh gosh, yes. And and I think as we've seen when the Formula One team, the McLaren Formula One team, ran it on their machines earlier this year, it looks pretty on almost anything except maybe a Spec Miata.
Even the Spec Miata, we'll throw them a bone too.
All right. As we follow Andrew Hewitt right now, Hewitt is currently running 10th in the AM category, 24th overall, and enjoy the camera time there, Mr. Hewitt, as you are all alone on this portion of the track, and this is typically where the announcer's curse would come into play. But let's take a look. Is he heading into the pits? No, he's going to go down for another lap, and here we go. Watch that beautiful camera view that Daniel has set up right at the apex at turn 12, and that's another turn we haven't really talked about much. here, Austin, is turn 12. You know, when you first come into Road Atlanta in real life, and you come in the front gate, what stares you right in the face is turn 12, is the hill pointing right at you. And I can tell you that the first time I drove here, it took many, many laps until I could convince my right foot to go down all the way to the floor. You know, it's one of those corners where technically it's not very difficult, but it's just much like a lot of Road Atlanta. It's just intimidating, and you know, it doesn't help that when you come down and around that corner and you look off to your left and there is cement wall, you know, about 15 feet to your left, and so you know if you turn in early there or if you grab curbing at the apex. There you go. We just saw somebody coming through through the final corner there. It could all turn for naught. As we jump back here to traffic, we are watching Thomas Fisher, who was our pole sitter tonight in the Pro-Am category, and sitting right behind him right now is Frederick Lavoie, who was leading in Pro-Am just a few moments ago until he went into the pits for his second and presumed final pit stop of the evening. And
yeah, you can see the penalty he took. I mean, he's currently running P7, hunting down P6. I'd be surprised if he doesn't get it in the next lap or two. Looks like he should be able to get it right here. Going to try to outbrake Fisher there going into turn 10A here. Should be able to get it without too much trouble. I think he's kind of... Oh, that was kind of close. Might be able to fight back on the inside here in turn 12. Like I said, takes a lot of commitment. It's one of the things we get to be lucky about in the sim racing world is if you do wreck, it doesn't hurt you physically, and you don't need to pay for a new car.
Exactly.
So it's a lot easier to have that kind of commitment in a sim versus real life in a car you own. So fortunately, not something we have to worry about, but I can assure you we'd all like to have to worry about that doing this in real life.
Yeah, and you know, you saw that going down in the 10A. The BMW of Lavoie, he gave a lot of room to Fisher under braking, almost a full car width separating them as they went down into 10A there. And so Lavoie had to go into 10A from so far to the inside. It pushed him all the way out, and you know, they're just it looked like the Lamborghini of Fisher. He was going to give as much room as possible, but just ran out of room as Lavoie started to have some issues. Now look at that, as Lavoie has issues with the braking coming into turn 7 the next time around here. Let's take a quick jump back to John Casey here in his Porsche 911. Casey currently running 7th in the AM category. And I think what we were taking a look there here is he was overtaking Errol Yerksoy, who was sitting in the pits. And it looks like Andrew Hewitt managed to get around him as well. So drop Yerksoy now down into 9th in the AM as we go on board right now. Look at this. Does the announcer's curse?
McLarens.
Yes.
I believe we got him again, Greg. Unfortunately for Andrew, I think we did get them there. I'll have to see what happens. Yep, that's going to be Dan Floria. He's just going to hit him, right here. So I believe Andrew had the accident first, and then Dan was just an unfortunate bystander. Almost had him completely cleared. Not quite, though. Very unfortunate for all parties involved there.
And then here they come down. Oh yeah, and you can see here is he's letting some other traffic through, but let's waiting to see if the two Gulf liveried McLarens get together again. No, looks like they're not going to allow that to happen. But yeah, I was going to ask, does the announcer's curse count if it happens like 2 laps later?
I think so. I mean, they're going to say it does. There's no arguing with them.
No, sorry, Andrew. My apologies. All right, as we go back on board right now, here as we're watching Dan Tenorio, and you can see here Tenorio just as he's sitting Tenorio now sitting in 9th here in the Pro-Am category. It looked like we had our overall leader, PJ Sturgios, 2 cars up ahead there, but it looks like one of those McLarens still trying to limp it back to the pits. There's PJ. We haven't. I don't think we've spent more than 5 seconds watching PJ here this evening, but he now has about a 7-second advantage over Justin Brunner in the pro category and overall, and it has just been another Another walk in the park.
Yeah,
For the,
honestly, another walk in the park for him. You know, every time we were looking at him, he was in a battle with some other cars. But as soon as we look at him for a couple seconds, there was a more heated battle or an accident somewhere else. Been a race of attrition here. So, unfortunately for PJ, he hasn't seen much of it. But unfortunately for the fans, it's kind of been a race just for PJ in his own here in the pro category.
Yeah, and you know, we were talking about coming into the evening here, where probably the one category that did not have the championship was in no way, shape, or form locked up coming into tonight and possibly coming out of this evening's races as well. Again, Sturgio's running second in the pro category coming into the evening with 675 points, with Sean Campbell with 690 points, your current leader. And of course, Campbell now is sitting back in third place. So we could see Sturgio's really close things down here on Campbell. And of course, Sturgio's looking for his second win in a row, having taken the win last week at Monza.
Yeah, as they run right now, if they finish how they did, Campbell would lose 10 points to Sturgio, so he would only have a 5-point lead. And at that point, you know, I have to imagine the tiebreaker as the most amount of wins. I believe they're tied. I'll have to look into that, though, to make sure. But at that point, it's pretty much whoever finishes higher in the next race at the Red Bull Ring, and we should be in for quite the treat if that is the case.
There you go. So the Inex Racing Machine now, as we've got just under 15 minutes remaining here, with a commanding lead here in this race. Now let's take a look here. I believe, let's see here. I was looking for a few moments here, and Daniel, can we jump to the battle for third right now in Pro-Am with Brewer and Kulaga? I think that one has been tightening up quite a bit the last couple of laps.
Yep, there's two battles that are really close on track. There's this one that we're looking at between what is going to be Kulaga, and then there is another one a bit further down the field. It's the same battle we saw between Fisher and Lavoie. Lavoie not able to get quite ahead of Fisher as fast as we thought he could. Right now we're looking at Wilson Brewer and his Riddle Rocket Racing Gold Audi there. You can see a lot of damage on the rear wing. That was, again, from one of the accidents we had earlier. So a great recovery drive here from Wilson. You can see one of the drivers that, unfortunately for him, he was involved early in some of the attrition, but, fortunately for him, there's been a lot more attrition since then from other drivers. So even though he got kind of a bad end of it, clearly, not the worst end, making a good day out of a bad first lap.
Well, and and as we jump to this scene, I think we had just seen Brewer recovering from a spin. So Kulaga managed to close things down was closing things down as Brewer then got things back underway. But it looks like Brewer's been able, just in that last 3/4 of a lap since that recovery, has been able to stretch things out again on Kulaga. The difference now about a little bit under 2 seconds between those two drivers. So what I thought was closing down, at least for the moment, not so much.
Yeah, sometimes it can be too. One driver just finds, a certain part of his mind, a little bit more pace than he thought he had, or a different way to drive part of the track. Maybe it wasn't making sense. One of the things that was hardest for me was, turn 6 and turn 7. You can't drive them like they're the same way. So as soon as it's one of the things that when it clicks, it finally clicks. You drive them each separately, individually, and you can gain a couple tenths of a second. So you always look for things like that to happen. It could also just be tires are wearing out. Maybe someone backs it off a couple tenths. And, eases up a little bit, and they gain so much more time. It's one of the weirdest things to think about. It's just, go a little bit easier on the tires. Some of these corners, if you've been pushing the whole time, just ease up a little bit. That flows a lot easier. As you see John Casey just getting a little bit loose there, spinning the rear end around. He almost does a complete donut there.
That was one of the nicest recoveries at turn 5 I think I have seen all night.
That might be the nicest recovery I've ever seen there.
That's right.
After getting the car that much sideways, you can see Andrew Hewitt again getting his car perpendicular to the way it should be. Just a little bit too much rear brake in that car.
That was close.
Yeah, that was real close.
That was close as Sean Campbell almost collected him. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that might be a changing shorts moment of the race right there. I don't think we've seen anything much closer.
Yeah, I was going to say, is Sean Campbell, our points leader in the pro category might have seen that 5-point advantage that he thought he was going to carry into the
0 point advantage.
Right, yeah, exactly. All in 1 second here. Let's take a look at Sean Campbell and what he saw. Oh yeah, there you go.
Wow, yeah, that is sketchy. Yep, and you can see, I mean, he was committed. He probably had no way of knowing that Andrew was out there, so he was just ready to put the power down and just barely able to keep it underneath him and not make contact.
All right, as we're back now, Wilson Brewer and that Audi's continuing to stretch things out over Michael Kulaga. But so let's jump over to Eric Kulaga, who is currently your leader in the AM category, and he's got a nice little buffer here. He's got 2 Pro-Am cars between he and Steven Martinez, who is currently running second. But you can see there that number 66 machine with a good advantage now over his teammate Martinez. And he's got a nice little pocket in traffic there. Oh, there's John Casey in that Porsche. I think probably still cleaning things up after his donut at turn 5 and back underway. But Eric Kulaga in that Vulture Motorsports machine has had a very strong run, and he separated himself out about midway in this race from his teammate Steven Martinez. Has not looked back since. Here as Kulaga continuing to turn in fast laps in the mid 120s, but I think more importantly, that last time by, Kulaga and his teammate Martinez ran exactly the same lap time. So he's not giving anything up to the rest of the AM category at this point. We'll see if that changes as our overall leader, Eric Kulaga, is probably not Eric Kulaga, pardon me, PJ Sturgios is coming through in that black and white number 57 BMW.
Yeah, fortunately for both these guys, they've got a pretty sizable lead to the rest of their competition, so there's no real need to push and get past the guy as soon as you catch him. There's no real need to let the guy behind you by as fast as possible, or to do it in the time that minimizes the least amount of time lost. So these guys are kind of just putting in the rest of the laps until they can finish the race. You can see just how much attrition there is. Daniel giving us a fantastic view of all those different cars in red that say out next to them on the bottom of the screen. That's so right. You can see that's just how many guys have pulled into the pits and decided to lead the session here. Lots of cars, getting wrecked and, making mistakes, being involved in other people's mistakes right now. We're looking at Ryan Kaprowski in the number 61 Riddle Rocket Racing Gold car. He's got a teammate out there. You can see damage on his wing as well.
Yeah, it looks like everybody's backed a car in somewhere, somewhere tonight.
You can see going a little bit wide there in turn 5, just barely over the curb, not too bad. We've certainly seen a lot worse. It's one of the better ways if you are going to go over the sand trap there. Just barely hitting the rear part of it there as it necks down to the point. So not a bad line through there at all for him.
Funny story is I ran a race actually, and I'm going to be announcing this race this coming weekend. I'm going to be at the Real Road Atlanta this weekend. But back in, I think it was 2007. I was running this race. It was called the American Road Race of Champions. And Greg Kramer, who many of you know, very famous announcer here in the United States, was set up as he always would to announce at least a portion of each lap from what they call Spectator Hill. It's a hill that overlooks turn 5. And he was doing the announcing from his rental car. And I will tell you that I got about midway through a 40-minute race, I got the entrance to turn 5 all kinds of wrong, which meant I got the exit all kinds of wrong and went bouncing through that little gravel trap there. And at one point, I'm pretty sure I had all 4 wheels in the air, and it got very, very quiet. And I could hear Greg Kramer. If any of you have ever heard Greg Kramer announce a Pirelli World Challenge race or a Grand Am race, and you could hear him just screaming, and Ginsburg's 4 wheels in the air. And it's bad when you can hear it inside the race car. And I heard him make the call, and all of a sudden I just kind of, it caused me, I was so tense on the wheel, it caused me to just kind of loosen things up just a little bit. And I probably shouldn't have been able to save the car, but I did, and it was all because I could hear the PA. I didn't have the announcer's curse that time. If anything, it actually helped me out there. But turn 5 will eat many a car as we continue to watch here. Ryan Kaprowski in his Audi, the number 61 machine. Kaprowski currently running 5th in the pro category after an early off, and unfortunately quite a bit out of podium contention here in pro as we jump over to our leader here in the Pro-Am category, and that is Brent Bravata, and it is starting to close things down. Look at this. Right behind Bravata, we now have Tyler Campbell in the number 6 Porsche. And, this is, we saw that race a couple of weeks ago at Sebring, where Campbell was, making a late race charge. He wasn't able to get up to take the podium position. But here he is definitely closed things down on Bravata, and we thought Bravata maybe had some breathing room with about 5 minutes remaining. But this is going to be a very hectic last 5 minutes for that Lamborghini driver.
Yeah, Tyler's put on quite the charge here. I believe, Bravata's tires are still kind of a bit worn out. He's able to, once you get them hot, they kind of don't want to grip as well. I believe Brent's been able to cool his tires down since then. Doesn't seem to be making as many mistakes here. Certainly isn't sliding the car around as much as he was before. You can see, it's still a handful for him, so definitely not a walk in the park right there. You see him trying to negotiate through lap traffic to say, hey, I'm in a race of my own. Currently, I'm the leader in my class. If you could please get out of the way there. He loses a ton of time there through turn 7. Has to put the power down. Unfortunately for him, though, Porsche's really good on the brakes, so I would not be too surprised if we saw Tyler Campbell make a move here to try and pass. And you're going to see a huge boost through the draft here with the 2 cars in front of him, although it looks like he won't be able to make a move.
Yeah, it looks like, and that's Fisher that they were following down through their Tom Fisher in the I believe the 59 machine, currently running 12th in the same class. They were looking to put that driver a lap down, and he's put himself right in the middle of this race between Tyler Campbell and Brent Bravata, and it's given Bravata a little bit of breathing room, perhaps that he needs, as we now only have a little bit over 3 minutes. We're looking at at this point
2 laps at this point.
Laps,
I would say 3 if you're really unlucky, depending on where the leader is in relationship to you, but it's likely 2 laps, so it should be this lap and the white flag after. You can see there Brent putting a little bit of a wheel off in the grass there. Fortunately for him, though, it didn't really hurt him too much, but you can see Tyler has eaten up a lot of the lead that Brent was gifted from the Lamborghini that they just lapped there. So I would imagine we'll see a move here pretty quick. Wow, you can see that Lamborghini sliding into the turn there. Rear tires are very, very mad at this point.
Yeah, yes, they certainly are, and we'll see if that Lambo can get a jump out of turn 7. Looks like he gets a decent getaway there. The last time by here, let's take a look. Now we're going to jump very quickly over. This is Ken Soska in the number 7 Lamborghini. And a little bit of contact. Was that Fowler, who we'd been following before? I think that was.
No, that was Ryan Kaprowski. Yep, he's
Kaprowski,
apologizing.
that's right.
Yep. Apologizing over the driver communications there. So Ken saying it's all good there, just a racing incident. But that's one of the many ways Tricia can get you here.
That's right. All right, so let's jump back now. This is the battle again for the lead in the Pro-Am category with Bravata.
Looks like they're going to get another lap after this. Just to butt in there. One more lap after this, so it looks like they have 2 to go right now.
And Campbell all over the and look at this. He is able to make up ground under braking. This may be a harbinger of things to come as they get down to the end of the back straight. If they don't have to worry about traffic, with so little time left, obviously 10A there at the end of that back straight is the prime spot to try to make the pass. But that Porsche also has a lot of ground. Now let's take a look. This is Frederic Lavoie trying to make his way through traffic going into turn number 6. And he made a move on Joseph Smith. So move Lavoie, who had that incident coming into the pit lane for his second pit stop. Move Lavoie now up into 5th in Pro-Am, and move Smith now back in the 6th. Well, let's jump back now to the battle for the lead here. Tyler Campbell, who we're on board with, coming draft right up to the back of the Lamborghini. Bravata. Bravata is going to stay to the inside, play defensive. And you could see the rear end of that Lamborghini come around going through 10A. Even with the lighter fuel load, Austin, you cannot deny that Bravata is just kind of hanging on at this point, as we've got 1 minute left on the clock.
Contact there. Going to spin them both out. I wonder, honestly, who's in 3rd place? That's going to be Brewer. Brewer might win this race, to be honest.
Brewer is almost 40 seconds back in the Audi. You can see now there's Wilson Brewer coming down onto the back straight going into 10A. We'll have to see as looks like both Bravada and Campbell have, yeah, Bravada and Campbell now making their way down through the S's. So they both got back underway, and it looks like, none the worse for wear. Of course, Bravada had all the tire issues before. Let's take a look at the replay here as they went down into turn 1.
Yeah, you can see just another one of those incidents where either driver thought, the guy to their left or right would be a little, 1 or 2 more feet further to the left or right there. But this race still isn't over. You can see, oh, wow, Tyler Campbell got really loose there coming out of turn 7 going down the hill. So looks like Brent's safe for now. We haven't gotten the white flag just yet, so still a lot to play for.
Well, I mean, we've already gone and hit the time. Yeah, we should be on the last lap here
right
now.
Here. Yep.
As there's PJ Sturgios, who is our leader, as he now is making his way down through the S's here at Road Atlanta, Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, and assuming he can make this lap as trouble-free and drama-free as he's made all of the previous laps before, he should come away with the win as he now heads down into turn 6, and he's going to be coming onto that back straight here for the very last time.
Just to update you folks at home on the battle in the Pro-Am category, Tyler Campbell currently trailing his competitor Brent Bravada by quite a bit here. Looks like both their tires. Tyler's actually getting pretty loose on all the right-hand turns, so he might have a little bit of suspension damage. You can see he got really loose there going through turn 11 into 12 there, so you can see his car clearly not handling to his liking. But here's our leader overall, PJ Sturgios, coming through 10A and 10B.
All right, and as Sturgios comes underneath the Fox Factory Bridge, brings his way down the hill through turn 12 for the very last time. PJ Sturgios in that Inex Racing number 57 BMW. He is going to take the win here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Justin Brunner is going to come across the line in second, and Sean Campbell, who should be making his way up the hill now towards that Fox Factory Bridge. Sean Campbell should bring his car home now in third. There he is crossing the stripe. That is your podium in the pro category. Sturgios Brunner, Sean Campbell. Brent Bravada, is he even going to take the checkered flag? He's going to take the checkered flag, but he's going to do it from the pit lane. Brent Bravada takes the win in Pro-Am from the pit lane. Tyler Campbell will finish in second. Wilson Brewer, who is quite a distance back, he should, if he can hold on, finish in third. Let's jump over now, and we're on board with Eric Kulaga. He is your and yeah, there you go. Kulaga already took the checkered flag, and he will finish, takes the win. Then we've got Steven Martinez, his Vulture Motorsports teammate, will finish in second in the number 53 Lamborghini. Drew Neubauer will come home in third in his number 47 Lamborghini. So, Austin here, not, again, it doesn't look like many drivers got through here scot-free and damage-free, but Eric Kulaga, who took the win tonight in the AM category, he might be the only one or one of the few in that number 66 machine. Still looking awfully pristine as he comes down into the pit lane here at the end of tonight's race.
I think he's one of only 2. I think the only other driver would maybe be PJ Sturgios and possibly Justin Brunner, but I'm not sure. I think we'll have to look back at the end of the race to see how many incidents each of these guys have had to see how many 4Xs or if it's divisible by 2 or 4 or not, or maybe just by 1.
Oh my gosh. All right, so there you go. And we're going to have some drivers come in here for interviews in just a few moments. But before we do that, let's take a look at the final order here. As we mentioned, PJ Sturgios in the Inex Racing number 57 BMW. He takes the win. His teammate driving the Inex Racing McLaren, Justin Brunner, will finish in second, 9.5 seconds back. Sean Campbell, who led the championship coming into the evening, he will finish in third tonight in his Tech Sense McLaren. Then Harry Wills finishes in fourth. Ryan Kaprowski and Dave Meneno will finish fifth and sixth. So let's jump over and take a look at the Pro-Am category, and we'll give you that rundown here in just a moment, where Eric Kulaga took the win tonight in his Vulture Motorsports machine. Finishing second, Steven Martinez also in his Vulture Motorsports entry. And here, hopefully, we'll have the title switched over here for you in just a second. Drew Neubauer finishes, Brent Bravata will finish in third in the number 11 Twisted Racing machine after that. Wow, look at this. Actually, Sean, as we take a look at the final order here, and I hate to say this, but we may need to go to the videotape. And maybe iRacing does. You can't finish and you can't win the race from the pit lane. But Brent Bravata came down the pit road and technically crossed the start-finish line from the pit lane.
He may have had a time penalty for entering the pit road too fast. I'm not sure. That could be the only other thing I can think of is to cost him the race by that much. But yeah, I'm pretty surprised myself at the finishing order there. Yeah,
because we show Campbell and then Brewer as finishing first and second. Tyler Campbell in his FTR Esports Porsche with the win. Wilson Brewer in the Riddle Rocket Racing, say that 25 times. Very quickly, finishing in second, and and I was showing Martinez as finishing in second, so I'm not sure what the story is there. Or pardon me, I'm thinking of the AM category. I'm sorry, but then Wilson Brewer in his Audi finishing in third. So let's jump now over to the AM category, where I'm going to get this right eventually. And taking the win in the AM category in the number 66 Vulture Motorsports machine. There you go, Eric Kulaga, with Steven Martinez finishing in second, 12 seconds back. And look at that, the two teammates, one lap up on the entire rest of the field. Drew Neubauer in his Team Premat machine. The Lamborghini finishes on the last step of the podium. Michael Fowler will finish in fourth. Then Ken Soska, that's right, Donkey Bop Racing's Ken Soska in that number 7 Lamborghini. He will finish in fifth position. And there you go. Then John Casey, Andrew Hewitt, Dan Floria, and the list goes on, but still continuing. And it's great to see here that AM category, Austin, that we continue to get great turnout week after week here, and some great racing in that field.
Yeah, still a huge turn on of both of our two bottom series. You can see that, the pro category, lots of guys unable to make the races here as the season drags on. But yeah, you can see a lot of parity even in the results for the bottom two, that being the Pro-Am and the Am categories. But it looks like we've got a lot of drivers lined up here in our waiting room to interview. Let's say we talk to those guys here, Greg.
Sounds good. Tell you what, why don't we bring in first, we're going to start off with Drew Neubauer, driver of the number 47 Lamborghini. He finished third tonight.
Hey, Drew, how's it going, man?
Good, man. How are you guys?
Pretty good. Not as good as you, though, finishing on the podium here in the AM category. Tell us about your race, buddy.
Yeah, we didn't really have a lot of practice this week with work and things, but so just kind of had a strategy of kind of keeping it as smooth as I could. I know it'd be a little bit off the pace, but just try to be consistent and be tough to pass if it got to that. And it worked out. I got a little argy-bargy with a couple guys, and I apologize for that. But other than that, it was a fun race, a little boring because I didn't really get to race with that many people, but all good.
Yeah, for certain. How much practice do you normally put in on a weekly basis compared to what you're able to do here before the race tonight?
Embarrassingly, I don't really get to practice that much. In the beginning of the season, I tried to put in a little bit more because I'm new to the sim. But yeah, I try to at least make one of the free practices and try to get at least 20-30 minutes in. But looking forward to the Porsche Cup and hopefully dedicate some more time to practice for sure.
Yeah, for certain. For being a newcomer to the sim here, you sure look like a veteran out there tonight. Is there anyone you want to thank for your run tonight?
Yeah, appreciate Team Premat, Alex Premat out of Las Vegas, and my teammate Travis TK. He had quicker pace than me tonight, but had a few more issues, I think. Thanks a lot, guys, and I appreciate the broadcast and Harry and Dean and all the guys that put this on. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you for your time, buddy. Congrats on the podium.
Thanks, guys.
All All right, there you go. Drew Neubauer, driver of the number 47 Team Premat machine. He finished third tonight in the AM category. Why don't we move over? Let's keep up the theme of third place finishes tonight, Austin, and let's move over to Wilson Brewer, driver of the number 62 machine, finished third tonight in the Pro-Am.
Hey, Wilson, you got a copy?
Yeah, got you guys good, loud and clear.
Hey, man, first off, congratulations on your podium there in the Pro-Am category. Tell us a little bit about your race.
Well, I knew it was gonna be a struggle bus for me. I've been up this morning since 4 a.m. at school and got back from school at 8 p.m. right before the driver's briefing. So not really a lot of time to put in much practice today, but made the best of it. Just ran an iRacing baseline setup and just was gonna see what I could do. Ended up going from P6 or 7 where I started to P1 in the first 2 laps, and then just made a dumb mistake coming over the crest in the final turns. Touched the grass, and that kind of sealed its fate there. But the damage wasn't crazy bad. Tire wear started really playing into the race, but I was able just to keep on the track the rest of the race, other than some contact. And I'm really happy to get P3 with everything that happened in the race today.
Yeah, for sure. 2 questions off that. The first one, what are you going to school for? I gotta ask.
I'm going to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical College in Daytona Beach, Florida, and I'm going for aeronautical science, which is basically just it's a fancy word for flight school.
Yeah, fantastic to hear, buddy. Good luck with the rest of that. And you said baseline setup, obviously. What was the damage? What kind of, what did the wing feel like? Obviously, we saw that damage in the rear end of it. Was that, a little bit of extra downforce, or rather top speed down the straightaways, a little less downforce in the corners, or how did that affect the car?
Yeah, the top speed honestly wasn't really that bad. My delta wasn't changing too much just because I had such a bad exit on my fastest lap onto the straights. So the straight line speed wasn't crazy. I was able to hold behind some cars for a draft. But where it really started to play was in the S's. The rear would just start sliding more than usual, and that just started killing the tires in the rear. And also my second pit stop, I accidentally left one tire on. I accidentally left my rear right tire on, and mixed match tires with this new tire model is just absolutely horrendous to drive. So the first 3 laps out of the pits, I was 3 seconds a lap off my normal pace, trying to get the tire up to temp, up to pressure, and operating normally. But really the wing just hurt tire wear more than anything else tonight.
Yeah, for sure. That vicious circle of heat the tires up, they lose grip, and they lose grip, so they get hotter and hotter. Is there anyone you want to thank for your run tonight, Wilson?
I want to thank my teammate Ryan for giving me some setups last minute to try out. Ended up, learning a few things, messing with some right out in the baselines that helped me out there. And again, to one of my buddies, Brian Lockwood. He always helps me, put in a lot of practice and focus what to practice on. Helps me get better every week. So yeah, thanks to those guys.
Very good. Well, congratulations on the podium. Thank you so much for your time, buddy.
Thank you so much. You guys have a good one.
All right, there you go. And, it seems like it would be a great segue, since Wilson just mentioned him. Why don't we bring in Ryan Kaprowski, driver of the number 61 Riddle Rocket Racing Machine. He finished 5th tonight in the pro category.
Hey, Ryan, just got done talking to your teammate there, Wilson. Tell us a little bit about your race, man.
Yeah, so good evening, guys. Not really a whole bunch to say tonight. I was running my race. Obviously I knew from the get-go that I wasn't really competitive anyway, so I was just trying to stay clean and whatever. And then it was kind of unfortunate to get caught up yet again by an AM driver. I mean, nothing against them, but it's simply just being in the wrong place at the wrong time, which seems to be a running theme for me the last several rounds. But overall, I can't complain with a P5 finish in class, so regardless of where that is overall. But I was just honestly just running my own thing the whole time. So
yeah, for sure. We saw you not as much damage as your teammate there, Wilson, but what kind of damage, what affected that rear wing being damaged have on the car?
To be quite honest, I didn't really feel it at all, because I knew I was going to be slower relative to everyone else anyway, because I don't know what other wings they were running, but I figured I was running a little bit more wing, because this is one of my weaker tracks, and I wanted to carry more for that rear stability through the S's. So yeah, if the wing damage, like I didn't even know my wing was damaged until I got out of the car at the finish. So yeah, it's pretty negligible. So
Good to know. Nice to keep in mind. Obviously, you hate to see it happen to anyone, but good to know that it didn't really have too big of an effect on the car. Is there anyone you want to thank for your run here tonight?
yeah, I mean, you know, I'd like to give a big shout out to my teammate Wilson, doing a fantastic recovery from his abysmal start to the season. But yeah, you know, we're all doing great. You know, got one more round left. We're super excited and hope to maybe, you know, do a little bit better next time. So this is going to be great.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for your time, buddy. Congrats on the P5, and good luck next week, man.
All right, thank you guys. Y'all have a good one.
All right, there you go. That was Ryan Kaprowski. And so, Austin, why don't we move over to our 3 winners tonight? We've got them waiting idly by for us here in the green room. Let's first bring in Eric Kulaga, driver of the number 66 Vulture Motorsports Lamborghini. He took the win tonight in the AM category.
Eric, first off, congrats on the win. How you feeling, man?
Thank you. Tired, man. That was chaos, pure chaos. The whole beginning was a disaster. Everyone wrecking. We were almost lapped before we even took the green flag. I don't know what happened on the start, but it was a mess, man. It was just pure survival.
Yeah, I tell you, I mean, you know, both the packs, you know, laid back, super hard on the start there, and also, I mean, the leader in the pro category, he took off before he even crossed the start finish line, so they just got a huge jump. But yeah, what was it like having a battle through that early attrition there and find yourself in good standing after it all went down?
It's actually easier this way as long as you don't get caught up in stuff. Last week I had to go one by one through guys to get up to the front, and this week the seas parted, and luckily I didn't get caught up in it. Steve got banged around a little bit. I think Steve had a little pace on me, but after that I was able to pull away from him once he had the damage. So that's kind of what happened in the win there. It just Mark Scott was leading, and then all of a sudden I think he had a disconnect or something. He just went sailing off in turn 5, and then from there it was just kind of don't wreck and don't make a mistake and keep these points and look at this championship.
Yeah, certainly with a win here tonight, you know, how does that really affect your championship standings as we go into the last round?
I believe I may not even need to race the last round, so I'm not sure, but I'm going to race it. I think it may be over, but we'll see. I have to do some number crunching.
I think so too. That's one of the things Greg and I spoke of before the show went live tonight is, you know, if you won tonight, do you even have to show up or where you would have to finish in order to just sit out the next race? But fantastic to hear.
I'll just broadcast with you guys and I'll badmouth my brother throughout.
Hey, that might be a good time.
I was saying, well, your brother's waiting in the green room. Maybe we should bring him in and you can badmouth him in front of everybody else.
Yeah, that's fine. That's what we do all race anyway.
Yeah, some good brotherly love. Fantastic to hear that. Is there anyone you want to thank for your run tonight, buddy?
No, actually, my wife and daughter, as I've said before, they think this is the dumbest thing ever. I told them what the prize was if I actually win this thing, and they're like, "Oh, that's actually pretty cool." And so now, I mean, the whole race, now they're excited about it, and they're like, win, and they're chanting like, "Let's go, Daddy!" And I take off my headphones. It's actually "Let's go, Brandon," but I don't know. So yeah, it's been a mess. But yeah, they don't like it at all. And then all of a sudden, them can win this thing that's cool. And my wife's like, "Oh, awesome."
Yeah, certainly makes the pocketbook a little bit heavier in terms of not having to shell that kind of cash yourself. Yeah. Interesting to hear what they're saying when you take off your headset, but you know, maybe put it back on and they are screaming, "Let's go, Daddy!" there.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, now you don't have to spend money on garbage that I don't care about." And that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you guys, and thank Harry, and thank my teammates and everybody. My brother had a great run today though too, so I really do congratulate him. He had a great finish. That was his best of the year. So really cool. And me and Steve won too. We keep trying to chase down PJ and Justin for the team championship, but that's like, I mean, me and Steve are like, you know, in a rec league playing basketball against Pippen and Jordan there. I mean, those guys are just insane. So yeah, we're doing what we can, but that's it, man.
Very much. Fantastic job. Congratulations once again.
Yeah, thank you guys.
All right, there you go. Eric Kulaga, tonight's winner in the AM category, driver of the 66 Vulture Motorsports machine. He just mentioned, and we hadn't mentioned it yet tonight, where we stood in the team championship coming into this evening. We'll handle that after the interviews here in just a moment. But we've got two people left here tonight. Let's bring in Tyler Campbell, driver of the number 6 FTR Esports Porsche. We're showing him as having taken the win tonight in the Pro-Am category.
Yeah, Tyler, first off, what a crazy finish.
Yeah, today has I went through the ringer. That's one way to put it. Started off the race with a steering wheel issue where I had to actually swap steering wheels while the countdown for grid was happening. So I ended up missing the grid and had to start from the pits. And then had early contact with Rasmussen when the two of us tried to go through T1 and I was going around the outside. And so I had to be real aggressive with my fuel strategy and just with making intentional passes and moves on track in order to try to get to the front. And then of course it all kind of came to a head when Brent and I approached turn 1 and we both tried to enter and neither one of us exited.
Yeah, for certain. Do you end up knowing why you ended up taking the win there? Was it a penalty down pit road that Brent ended up accumulating there at the finish? I saw your car was very ill handling after you ended up bouncing out of the tires. Was there something wrong with it? Was the chassis bad or just your tires were a little bit too hot there at the end?
Yeah, so going into turn 1, basically, Brent thought that he was clear on the inside, and I had presented and was aiming to go for a late braking, and he dove down to the apex, not knowing or expecting me to be there, I guess. And as a result, we came together, but he ended up hitting my driver rear wheel hub. So I had a wheel damage and a broken rear wheel. So I was honestly surprised that I was able to cross the finish line at all, because that thing was just an absolute handful to get across the line. But as far as like how the results will actually end up, I have no idea. The stewards still need to review the incident and make their decision. I did already talk to Brent about it, but inevitably we came to a racers agreement, which is merely to agree to disagree. So it's the nature of racing where we have been racing for 74 minutes, and I've come from the back and I'm on a momentum and have eaten up the time on him, 3 times in a row. So I definitely knew I had the pace on him. And then when I made the presentation to start challenging him for the position, things just went awry. So. That's racing sometimes, right? You have the opportunity to be alive or right, as my mentor likes to say. And in this case, it was one of those instances where just neither of us ended up being alive. So we'll let the stewards to determine who is right.
Very mature way of looking at there. Is there anyone you want to thank for your run tonight?
I just want to thank the team, FTR Esports, KM Cargo, our partners, Sim3D, and Go for the Gap. Really appreciate all they do for us. And once again, thanks to you guys for all the energy and effort you guys put into commentating these races. And big thanks to Harry Wills for putting on the event.
Certain. Thank you for your time tonight. And if it does stand, congratulations on your win, man.
Thanks. Definitely not how you want to get wins, but we'll see what the stewards say. Thank you very much, guys.
Yep, thank you, man. One more person I really want to talk to, PJ Sturgios, ended up taking home the win in the pro category. PJ, man, that was pretty much done and dusted for you about halfway through the race. Talk to us about it from your perspective there.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun out there tonight. I love Road Atlanta. It's one of those tracks that just is just really fast, a lot of fun, and you're sorry about that, and you're flat out the entire time. So happy to pick up the win tonight, and thanks to all the guys at NX for getting that car set up right. It was really a lot easier to drive tonight, which I think makes a big difference here.
Yeah, for certain, it's a lot easier to go around here flat out, like you're saying, if you can have confidence on both ends of the car. We saw your championship competitor there, Sean Campbell, finish 2 spots behind you, so that should take the 15-point lead that he had, bring it back down to 5 points. What does that do for you? One more race left in the championship here next week at the Red Bull Ring.
Yeah, it's going to be a tight little battle there in Austria. I don't know, that's kind of a track I've only ever raced once before, so I don't know if Sean, how experienced he is there, but it's going to be a pretty good battle. Looking forward to it, and hopefully we can get Justin to have a good run again. Good to see him come home in second after some of the luck he had at Montreal, and see if we can get him to try to fight off Sean. I think we're going to need both Inex cars up there next week to be able to seal a championship for either of us.
Yeah, for certain. I heard you guys also have a pretty good hold on the team's championship as well for right now. Is there anyone you want to thank for your run tonight?
Yeah, of course. Thanks Justin for helping me get this car sorted out for whatever track conditions we were expecting tonight, and all the other guys at Inex for their help. Jack Sedgwick, Alexi, and for helping me with setups and everything this season. And of course, SimuCube and Sam Maxwell Customs for their support over the years.
Very good. Well, once again, congratulations on the win tonight, PJ.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. Our winner tonight here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, PJ Sturgis, driver of the number 57, and I'll get the pronunciation right eventually, Inex Racing BMW. All right, so as we start to wrap things up here from Michelin Raceway, want to thank our great sponsors. You can find links to them down below the video here. Race Anywhere, who is our Drivers' Championship sponsor. Of course, we've mentioned before, they're providing that great Pro Sim Rig PSR1 80/20 profile rig to each one of our championship winners. They also sell rig accessories, wheels, pedal sets, and a whole lot more. Make sure to check them out at raceanywhere.co.uk. Then we've got Sim3D, and Sim3D is our team championship sponsor, and we hadn't mentioned this, but I think one of our drivers did before. I think it was Eric Gulaga, coming into this evening. Inex Racing with a almost 100-point advantage over Vulture Motorsports with Race Anywhere, Riddle Rocket Racing, and Donkey Bop Racing, your top 5 teams in that team championship. Sim3D, from button boxes to immersion kits to paddle shifter replacements. You can find out more about them at sim-3d.co.uk. Also, Go for the Gap, with some great motor racing inspired prints. Hang them up on your walls, and they've got a great special going on if you order 2. Find out more about them at etsy.com/shop/go-for-the-gap. And I think one thing that we hadn't mentioned, but also starting up in the near future from Race Anywhere and the great folks at World Series Leagues, is the Race Anywhere Porsche Cup. To find out more about that brand new series and also the Race Anywhere Transatlantic Championship, head on over to worldseriesleagues.co.uk. And finally, if you liked what you saw here tonight, please go ahead and give us a big thumbs up. And if you haven't done so already, go and subscribe to Absolute Sim Racing ASR, and click on that notification bell so you can find out about all the great motor racing, virtual racing that they've got lined up for you here on the interwebs. So next week we will be at the Red Bull Ring. We're going to be heading off to Spielberg, Austria for the final round of the Race Anywhere Transatlantic Championship. It will be same time, same bat channel, Wednesday night, 8:20 p.m. Eastern time. And of course, we do have that clock change here in the United States this weekend, but it's going to be at the exact same time. So make sure to join us next Wednesday night. So for Austin Belke, for Dan Handover, I'm Greg Ginsburg, and we'll see you from Austria in just a week's time. Thanks for joining us tonight.